All right, guys, piecewise functions today. You need to really watch this one. I don't say that a whole lot on these videos, but you need great notes. Really slow it down or whatever, but just really pay attention. There's only like 3 or 4 slides. It's really short, but I'm going to go really slow and like do the best you can. We'll work on it obviously tomorrow, but I want you to have a good idea how to do it before you get to class tomorrow. Piecewise. All right, a piecewise function is where they give you a function. There's actually 2 or more pieces to it. So it's called piecewise. Okay, and it gives you a condition over here. I'm going to change colors here. It gives you a condition on the right-hand side. So right here, that says f of negative 2. We haven't talked a whole lot about that. F of negative 2 means you're going to plug negative 2 into the function for the x. This is your x or your input. And you're just looking for what would the y be if you plugged in negative 2? Well, with the piecewise, you're going to know where to put it. Okay, so where does negative 2 fall? Negative 2 is less than 1, which means I'm going to plug it into that top part in for that x. So I'm going to plug the negative 2 in where that x was. That gives me negative 4 plus 1, which is negative 3. That's all there is to it. It's not hard work. It's just a little bit different. Next one says f of 0. Well, where does f of 0 fall? F of 0 is also less than 1. 0 is less than 1, I should say. So I'm going to put 0 where the x was. That equals 1. Then it says f of 1. Now, 1 is 1. Okay, the top one again, top one says x is less than or equal to 1. So because 1 is 1, I'm actually going to plug that 1 in for the x also. So that's the 3rd time in a row I've plugged or substituted this number into the top x. Now when I get to this last one though, it says f of 3. Okay, f of 3 is greater than 1. It is greater than 1. So it means I'm going to use that one. I'm going to use the bottom one. I'm going to put the 3 here. 3 plus 3 is 6, and there you go. There's all 4 answers. All right, hope that made some sense. 2 different pieces of the same function. All right, we're also going to graph them. I'm going to give you a good method. There's several ways you can do this. I think what I'm going to tell you is the best. I wouldn't do it otherwise. I just think it's the easiest way I've ever seen to do it. So that's what I'm going to teach you. If it doesn't work and we're getting about halfway through class tomorrow and we're like, oh man, we're just struggling, maybe I'll show you another way, but I think this way right here is the best. Okay, so here we go. I want you to start every time, whatever number they give you here, that 4, I want you to plug it in right to the left of it. So if I plug 4 in there, that gives me 2. So here's what I did. I plugged in 4. That was supposed to be parentheses. I plugged in 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. So I'm going to go to that point, 4, 2. 4, 2 is right. You can see it. 4, 2 is like right there. I put a little tiny dot there. Now, there's no equal sign on that less than 4. So what that means is I'm actually going to put an empty circle, like we always do if there's no equal sign, so put an empty circle there. Now, here's where it gets a little crazy. Just stay with me here. Because it says less than 4 is left of 4. Actually, I went to negative 4. I'm sorry about that. Good night. That should be a rule of 5. Okay. So there's where my point should be. Sorry about that. I went negative 4. Okay. Because I'm going to go left, though, because less than 4 is left of that, I'm going to go 1 number to the left of 4. Okay, so if I'm at 4 and I go 1 number to the left, that puts me at 3. Okay, so like there's 4. If I go left, that puts me at 3. I'm going to plug the 3 in now for the x. 3 minus 2 is 1. So my second point is going to be 3, 1. Now, both of these are just lines. So I'm just going to connect the dots like that. And there's the first piece. Okay, there's the first piece of the piecewise graph. Then I'm going to change colors to make it easier for you to see, but I'm going to do the same thing on the second one. I'm going to plug the 4 in for that x, and here's what's weird. If I plug in 4 there, I just get 4, because it's just an x. So my point is going to be 4, 4. So I'm going to go to 4, 4. This time I'm shading in the circle because there's an equal sign. One more thing. There's a greater than symbol. Okay, greater than 4 is to the right of 4. So what is the next number to the right of 4? 5 is. So I'm going to plug a 5 in for that x. And if I plug a 5 in for that x, I get 5. I get 5, 5. So I'm going to go to 5, 5, which is right there. I'm going to connect those dots, and there it is. That's weird, but that's what your piecewise functions are going to look like. They're going to be 2 different pieces. Sometimes they're connected, a lot of times they're not. Okay, just like that. Hope that made some sense. I'm going to show you one more graph a little bit faster. Okay, this one's got 3 pieces. I'm going to show you 1 with 3 and a couple weird things about this one also. So remember how we start. I'm going to take that 2, plug it right there. If I plug it in right there, I get negative 1/2 times 2 minus 2. That's really negative 1 minus 2, which is negative 3. So here's what happened. I plugged in 2. I got negative 3. That's where I'm going. Also, that's less than. not equal to, that's an empty circle. So I'm going to go to 2, -3, empty circle. Now because it says less than 2, I'm going to go 1 to the left. If I go 1 to the left, that puts me at 1. So I'm going to go to -1/2 times 1 minus 2. That gives me -1/2 minus 2, which is -2.5. All right, so I plugged in 1, and I got -2.5, which is going to put me right here. Now I can connect those two dots, and there's the first piece. All right, I'm going to change colors. I'm going to go here. Now this is one we haven't seen yet. This gives you two numbers. It gives you a 2 and a 4. So all I'm going to do is put in those two numbers only. This is a weird case. That's why I showed you this one. I'm going to plug in 2. If I plug in 2 right there, I get 2 times 2, which is 4. So I plugged in 2, I got 4. I'm going to go to 2, 4, and I'm going to put a filled in circle because there's an equal sign. Now I'm going to plug in the 4. If I plug in 4, 2 times 4 is 8. So I'm going to go to, sorry, it's a 4, 8. Plugged in 4, I got 8. So I'm going to go to 4, 8, all the way to the top up here. And here's the deal. Because they gave me an ending point and a starting point, I'm going to start at the 2 and go to the 4. I'm just going to stop right there. Right? There's no arrow. It just goes between 2 and 4. The graph is right there between 2 and 4. And let's do the last one. Now, the weird thing about the last one is I'm going to plug the 4 in. I should change colors for you. I'm going to plug the 4 in, but there's nowhere to plug it. So if I try to plug 4 in, I still get 3. So I'm going to go to 4, 3. 4, 3. I'm going to fill in the circle. And by the way, I just realized that should have been an empty circle at the end of my last one. I'm sorry about that. Where the 8 was, like that, yeah. Because there's a filled in circle here. So I'm going to go filled in circle here. Now, that says greater than 4. Okay, greater than 4 means to the right of 4, which means I'm going to plug in 5. There's nowhere to plug in 5, so I get 3 again. So I'm going to go 5, 3. All right, so what's happening is I'm just going to get this horizontal line right there. So those 3 pieces, like it's almost like 3 distinct graphs, 3 different graphs, but they represent one function because if you look at it, it does pass the vertical line test. Okay, so it's a function. All right, one more slide. Thanks for hanging in there. I know this is a little tougher than what we've been doing, but you'll get it, I promise you. All right, last slide here. They want you to read the graph this time. Okay, so it says evaluate the function for the given values. And they give you a picture of a piecewise here on the graph. So they say f of -6. Remember, that -6 in there represents the x coordinates. So I'm going to go to -6 on the x-axis right here. And then where's the graph? The graph is right down there. What is the y coordinate right there at -6? And the answer is, it's at -2. I hope that made a little bit of sense. Let's do this. We've got 2 more. F of -2. So go to -2. Remember, -2 is the x. Go to -2 on the x-axis, which is here. And then find the graph. Where's the graph? It's right here. What is the y right there? It's also -2. All right, one more. It says f of 0. 0 is the x. Okay, so it means find the 0 on the x-axis. Now, this is a little bit tricky. Where is the graph at 0? I'm going to blow that up a little bit. If I blow it up, you kind of want to say -1, but -1 has the empty circle. Where's the filled in circle? The filled in circle is right there, which is at, was that -2? So that means that answer to that one's also -2. That was weird. All 3 answers -2. Not sure how that happened. Pretty cool though. All right, guys, that's it. Again, I know that's probably seemed like a weird stuff that you haven't seen a whole lot of before. I promise you, like always, you will get it before you leave the door tomorrow. At least I sure hope so. Be ready to go, though. Be ready to concentrate tomorrow. Okay, and focus. So I'll see you then. Adios.